Hello, this is Frank Neely from HeartlandDiaryUSA.com, bringing you news every conservative can use. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay up to date. Well, the White House press corps just keeps getting worse and worse. And in response to the president's statement at Tuesday's debate with Joe Biden that he surely condemns white supremacy, the White House press corps doesn't understand what sure means. And today, 4 or 5 questions at Kayleigh McEnany's press briefing were directed to the president's statement about white supremacy and whether he would condemn white supremacy. McEnany pointed out that he has repeatedly condemned it, and basically it's gotten to the point where the White House press corps doesn't care about the facts. They just want to make a name for themselves. What's disappointing is that today, John Roberts of Fox News led the press conference off with an idiotic question about white supremacy, followed by Paula Reid of CBS, and later, I won't be showing this one, but Kaitlan of CNN, the 3 amigos of the White House press corps, and it's a sad thing to behold. But Kayleigh McEnany, as usual, did a masterful job of putting the press in their place.
Kayleigh, if I could start off, I'd like to ask you for a definitive and declarative statement without ambiguity or deflection. As the person who speaks for the president, does the president denounce white supremacism and groups that espouse it in all their forms?
This has been answered yesterday by the president himself, the day before by the president himself on the debate stage. The president was asked this. He said, sure, 3 times. Yesterday, he was point blank asked, do you denounce white supremacy? And he said, I've always denounced any form of that. I can go back and read for you in August 2019, in one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. In August of 2017, racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups. I have an entire list of these quotes that I can go through with you. He has condemned white supremacy more than any president in modern history.
Just to clear it up this morning, can you, naming it, make a declarative statement that you denounce, that the president denounces it?
I just did. The president has denounced this repeatedly. The president was asked this. You're contriving a storyline and a narrative.
I'm just asking you to put this to rest.
I just did. I read you all of the quotes, and if you need to see them in writing, I will put them in an email. Paula.
So, Kayleigh, can you right now denounce white supremacy and the groups that espouse it?
The president has denounced white supremacy, the KKK, and hate groups in all forms. He signed a resolution to that effect. The president just last week, perhaps you all weren't covering it, but just last week expressed his desire to see the KKK prosecuted as domestic terrorists. This president had advocated for the death penalty for a white supremacist, the first federal execution in 17 years. His record on this is unmistakable, and it's shameful that the media refuses to cover it. Yes.
Thank you. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security say that racially motivated violent extremism is one of the deadliest threats that we face in the U.S. Does this White House agree with that assessment, and what is it doing to combat this threat?
The president has done quite a bit to combat this threat. First of all, last week, he also, in addition to saying he wants to prosecute the KKK as domestic terrorists, he said that lynching should be a national hate crime. Again, I think there's no stronger signal that you can send than advocating for the execution of a white supremacist the first time there's been a federal execution in 17 years. He's been unmistakable.
Is different than actually doing it.
He's continually condemned it, and it is really...
The record on this is mixed. He has condemned it, he's equivocated at times. He said he didn't want to acknowledge it or address it. His record is very mixed on this issue.
His record is not mixed in the slightest. And when you go back in history, you can see that...
history right here.
When you go back in history, you can see that Jesse Jackson has praised the president as someone who served underserved communities. This president, with Mar-a-Lago, it was the first Palm Beach club open to African Americans and Jews. And in fact,
his record is mixed. He has not been consistent on the issue of white supremacy. So I'm asking you, what has this White House done to combat what the FBI says is one of the deadliest threats in this country?
We're not having a debate on a cable news network.
You're
right now, you need
saying
to let
that
me
he
finish.
condemns it. I have his record right here.
You need to let me finish.
His record is
It's
mixed.
quite funny that the media goes haywire about interrupting in debates and then chooses to pursue that very same tactic themselves. This is a White House briefing. You ask a question and you give me time to answer.